running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
What's going on, Quasar Markets Live? What's going on, BigBeat? How are we doing this morning?
Good morning, Howard. Yeah, look, CPI data came in. Oh, not so hot. We've been trying to say this. What's going on with the Fed? I think, we've been talking about this for a while. The Fed's lost. It's lost its way. It's completely, it doesn't know what's going on. It just completely does not. It's data dependent. We're data dependent. We're data dependent. We've heard this the last 3 meetings that we're data dependent. And here's new data. We've been telling you, we've been using data too. Maybe it's time to update your data. Hey, we'll give you a free account at Quasar Markets. I don't know what else that they need to know, right? They keep moving the goalposts, and here we are again. And we're seeing CPI coming in at a lot less. And I don't know what else to tell the Fed. They're definitely in a position now where we've said it's behind the 8 ball. This is beyond the 8 ball now. And you see where the data for CME Fed tool is now saying there's not a chance, maybe not even June. It gets pushed out to July for a cut, right? People losing their jobs, homes. There's all kind of things going on. And I don't really understand this at this point. This to me feels political more than anything. Now they say they're not political, but Howard, it just feels too political for me.
Yeah. We've been calling for cuts. A lot of people have. I don't know why they're not willing to do it yet. Markets like the news. We had been down this morning. We are now up about a 1/4 point on the Qs, about 5 basis points on the SPY. But those are off the lows that we hit earlier this morning. We sort of bottomed out right at that 6 o'clock hour, and we've been raising up ever since. Bitcoin, nice move back to the upside, Steve, 103,731. Commodities holding up pretty well. Gold sitting at 32.44, up slightly. Your silver at 32.80. Crude, holding up pretty well too, above 60 at least. WTI at 61.70 or so. So, WTI actually at 62.32, so pumped up a little bit here this morning. Anything on the commodity side, sort of bigger macro things you're sort of looking at?
Obviously, oil to me is very interesting here. 62.72. Keeping it above the 60 handle has been very good. That means we're kicking behind that of recession area. I still think we're in a recession, but it looks like oil's trying to hold. The reason being here, I think some of the OPEC countries are saying we're going to cut back a little bit, which will hold this steady. I'm not going to say pushing the price up, because the price should be around 63 to 65 bucks a barrel. That's a Goldilocks era. I think we've said this a million times. But having it here is good. Means that companies are still doing okay. You know what? I think that if we wanted to look at companies in this commodity space, I think refineries. We've talked about this for a little while. Refineries seem to be the place, and I think that Trump eventually will turn his eyes to fixing refineries in the area, because it's important that these refineries get taken care of. I would give them serious tax cuts to get the refineries up and running. Hey, we'll give you 10 free years of no taxes if you spend X amount of money upgrading your refineries so that it's cleaner, faster, more efficient. And no, don't put the Keystone pipeline in. That was the dumbest thing ever, right? A pipeline to nowhere, pretty much. We know that. I know that was a political football, but if you did the homework on it, you'd realize that was I'm talking about actual refineries, right? Where you're breaking it up, the crack spread between heating oil and refining it to plastics or whatever the heck you need to do it with petroleum barrel, right? But no, right now I think, and I think if these few things could be tweaked, I think we're okay. I think we can get out of this. I think we'll be okay. I saw where Jensen Huang of NVIDIA this morning talked about AI chipsets, that 60% of all AI engineers are Chinese, right? Guess what they need? Oil, commodities, they got to do these things too. Well, what do you mean? Plastic is made by petroleum, right? They need these things too. And so there's a lot of things that petroleum does. And as we create new warehouses for these computers, as we build quantum computing, that all needs oil. You got to move things to it, gasoline, diesel. It's a whole economy around it, and not just the United States. It's the whole world. So I think you're right. I think that this is the world we need to fix. We're in trouble.
Yep. I will say VIX nicely. It actually had just broken below 18, but now back at about 18, got down to 1777, getting much closer to that 1705 area that I think if we break below here, we could see an extended rally. Ended up with a great day yesterday. We did get a little rally in the afternoon. Qs ended up 4% on the day. The SPY ended up 3.3% on the day. Also, Dow Jones up 2.81%. So nice moves to the upside there. On the other side of it, healthcare is still getting killed, Steve. UNH down 11% after suspending their 2025 guidance. I mean, that stock is the Boeing.
Well, I think the big problem there, UNH, is they hired their chairman of the board to be CEO. There is a reason why you have both. It's why you have a chairman of a board. It's why you have a CEO. CEOs make the decisions. I don't like this at all. When you combine it, this is bad juju. This means that there's something really fundamentally wrong at UNH. So, wow, this is definitely not a good sign for UNH at all.
Yep, shares down 11% in pre-market, stocks down about 25% year to date. It has, hit the rest of the sector. Elevance, CVS, Humana were all down about 5%. Cigna and Centene were down, about 2%. They suspended their already lowered 2025 outlook. They had cut that on April 17th. And they said that higher than expected medical costs, especially among new Medicare Advantage enrollees, they brought in care activity across more benefit types than seen in quarter one. Company does expect growth to resume in 2026. Long-term target of 13 to 16% annual growth. As you mentioned, Stephen Hemsley, who has been chairman of the board, was the former CEO, now returning, and definitely. Bringing down the entire sector. That's the
well, you and I have been talking about it for a while, that these weight loss drugs, Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, we're now finding out that it's not just weight loss, that it's cutting cancer in half. The new report out of Japan says that cancer is being cut, the risk of cancer in those people that are taking these drugs, it's being cut in half. We're hearing all kinds of benefits out of this. And so, yeah, I get it. It's expensive drug. They're new drugs that are helping the people. But it's also in a situation now where it's preventative medicine now, almost better than taking your vitamin, right? It's a whole different world now. And I think that in a lot of ways, the surcharge, I'm going to call it the surcharge of the weight loss drugs, people are losing weight, then their problems down the road are going to be a lot less. Now, for me, it's the sheer number of people in the future. Will they be paying their insurance and to cover people that are like myself who will be older, right? So will there be money out there for us? So I hope so. But that's a big concern of a lot of these insurance companies. I also will say that insurance companies, as Warren Buffett said 2 weekends ago, it's the best business, right? If you don't want the bill, right? You say, well, I'm not covering that, right? Wow. That's really bad stuff, right? So, but that's what insurance does. I think you got a couple of things here in the world. CPI coming down, inflation is coming down. Yes, there's some issues with hospital bills, and of course student loans. So these things are hitting Main Street a little harder than we expected. But we haven't had inflation this low since 2021. This is 2025. This is 4 years later. This tells me that the Fed is not paying attention, right? They're not paying attention to the whole macro picture of everything, like we're just talking about it, right? Well, you're all over the place, BigBeat. Not really. What I'm trying to say is one of my biggest rules, right? The whole world matters. You need to understand how refineries and medical and CPI and oil, all of it works because it all revolves around the costs. And if we can get these costs down through CPI, if eggs are cheaper, right? Okay, then people start eating eggs. But guess what? The farmer needs to move those eggs to market. It takes diesel. In a lot of ways, you got to farm, right? You got to have more cows. Those cows eat. They got to have wheat. They got to have winter wheat. They got to plow. Guess what? It's like a whole thing. And when you look at it from that perspective, I think that there's a lot of issues right now, and those issues are what is bothering people now. Do I think people understand the interconnectivities of all of these issues? No. But I do think that people do understand when they go to the Sam's Club and they see their TV really cheap. Guess what? 3/4 of that TV is made by petroleum products, plastic, and you need rare earths. All of those things are in the trade war with China. So these things are all together. So listen, I agree. I think that we just need to get some comments. Let's go, Fed. Drive the car forward. Steve Flanagan coming in. Steve, you're absolutely right. I think you even tweeted this morning. I reposted it. Steve Flanagan's right. The Fed. What else does the Fed freaking need? I mean, we're at that point now where they're just making stuff up as they go along now. And I thought that the Reuters question, the lady from the Reuters, asked the right question. What's it gonna take? I mean, what do you need to hear? And you can see him sweating and taking 5 minutes to answer the question because he really couldn't answer the question. So I totally agree with this. And you're seeing it in a nervous market and a nervous I want to say Main Street, because even Wall Street's Main Street in a lot of ways too. They still do all those things. So yeah, I agree, Howard. But it's not really, it's affecting the markets in a way. But when does Warren Buffett take his cash off the sidelines and start investing back in, right? That's what we need to find out.
Yeah, we'll see. On the positive side, Coinbase, biggest leader so far this morning, up now almost 11% after being included in the S&P 500, first crypto firm to do so. Coinbase has had a lot going on lately. They just purchased one of the largest decentralized futures exchanges out there with Deribit. So a lot of stuff. They're seeing Oppenheimer just raise their price target to 293. What are they trading at today? 207, 10%, so 229. You're looking at Oppenheimer just raised it to 293. Bernstein called the move a dramatic turnaround for the crypto industry. So definitely moving to the upside. What's market cap's now 52 billion there.
Yeah, good old Brian Armstrong. Well done there. When people, for the last 15 years about crypto, for me at least, people have been asking me, why BigBeat? Why do you have, why do you like Coinbase so much? Because it's the one that seems more institutional, right? Because right now, Vanguard, BlackRock, these are major institutions that are, and of course, Brian himself are the ones who own Coinbase, and they were the ones who could get it done to get them onto the S&P. And well done. This also cements crypto in my eye as a major, now I would say a major figurehead in the way that we do business, because it's no longer sitting on the sidelines. Coinbase,
it's an outsider, right? That's pretty much the most exclusive.
No longer an outsider.
It's sort of like being an NFL owner, right? There's only 32. There's only 503 or whatever it is of the S&P.
Let me ask you this, Howard. Do you feel vindicated? I mean, you and I have taken so much heat over being crypto.
See, I'm on the wrong side of it, because as more of a Bitcoin maximalist of a side of it, I don't want to be part of the S&P 500, the TradFi. I'm more scared of some of this stuff. One of the better DeFi platforms out there was WonderFi, believe it or not, owned by that idiot Kevin O'Leary, but it was his publicly held company in Toronto. And they just sold to Robinhood. It's, we're seeing TradFi more and more get in and buy these companies, take them over. So we'll see how that works. I'd rather, I like what Coinbase has done. They've stayed true to themselves. So that's why Brian Armstrong has continued just to be the leader when it comes to it. But we'll see. Strong move up there. First Solar also moving up nicely there. We're seeing a bunch of the energy, the solar companies move to the upside. Today Sedge also up, nicely. JD had nice earnings beat there. They're continuing to have a nice move there. Most of the other Chinese names moving to the other side. But JD actually up nicely here on their quarter one earnings. And
hearing reports now that Doge, according to MSN, has been officially taken over back over by Donald Trump now. It's according to the Wall Street Journal here. I'll post this up here too as well. I think this is
Steve, other laggards today, you got Hertz down 5.62% on their earnings report. Their revenues down 13% year over year. They had a negative EPS, $443 million loss here. So Hertz definitely not going the right way. Bill Ackerman, as we know, owns 20% of that. It's going to be interesting. He says it's going to be a $30 stock by 2029.
Might be. I mean, you know, look, I can, as these hedge funds are now taking over. I just flew Spirit over the weekend during the week, and I will tell you that King Griffin now owning Spirit Airlines, or the majority of it, cleaning it up, making it better, working the the system so that we can have a cleaner seats, a more healthier morale amongst employees. It seems to be a theme here in the travel industry. I think the travel industry has really taken a back seat to new tech and upgrading. I like this move with Hertz. National, Alamo, Hertz. I like this move, but I also feel like that they need to put some money into Hertz, right? Gone are the days of quote O.J. Simpson running through the aisles of the ads, right? For Hertz, you're now seeing National taking a lot of a bigger piece of that advertising. So, I think Bill Ackman knows what he's doing when it comes to it, or he knows who to hire, and I think that's the key here is the hiring of Hertz. So I do like this. $30 stock by 2029. It's not only a few years away, 4 years away. Yeah, it could very well. But I think there are other things I would rather own than Hertz right now. I think, but from Bill Ackman's side, yeah, maybe clean it up and then sell it off. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. But merger,
they talk about their EV mistake of 100,000 Teslas cost them about $2.8 billion in write-downs. So definitely,
and I mean, think about it. Nobody's going to buy those Teslas, right? They're old Teslas. So I don't know. It's Hertz just seems to be they have a lot of problems. So there's a lot more to clean up there than in airlines, I think.
Another one out there getting hit pretty hard today, Rigetti, and they had sort of an interesting one here because they basically said that they're not interested in being profitable. They're interested in R&D, unlike their peers, D-Wave. Rigetti prioritizes R&D over commercial quantum computing.
Jeff Bezos, for almost 15 years, says he is not interested in being profitable. He was interested in building a machine, and he was right. His vision, Rigetti Computing, obviously the quantum computing R&D. I've always said yes. Look, we're not even in the first pitch of quantum computing, right? We're not even there yet, but it's coming. And anybody that thinks the quantum computer is not coming, Apple today talked about neural networks running your iPhone. I mean, the speed of technology right now is scaring a lot of people, right? Because of that, we've got other issues. But when we talked about it from the crypto side, if you think about it from the crypto side, we think of crypto as something new and exciting. A lot of people do, right? It's not. We've had it for a long time. AI, we've had it for a long time. It's just now happening, right? So when I look at it from this perspective, quantum computing is going to change the world. It's handling. Think about how many times your computer is slow and you won't even have a computer on your desk. It'll just be a dummy machine where it's connecting into the quantum computing, microtransactions in the back end. We don't know when we swipe a credit card how many machines it goes through. It goes through seven layers just before it even gets to the bank processing company, right? So same thing here. All those little microtransactions are doing the same thing. So I think quantum computing is going to be very, very big in the future.
So you like Rigetti here at 1037 or so?
I don't, not yet, not to buy, not to invest in yet, because if that is the case, then they're not profitable. I understand the company's position. I don't, but that's not a place for them to be. If they are going to be a for-profit company on an exchange, they should delist, right? They should go somewhere else and go raise money if they're not interested in being profitable. That's a problem, right? Because we are here to invest for the future for a profitable company. So if that's the case, then I would say take a back seat, go do your thing. Hell yeah, let's go build that thing. But you don't need to be on an exchange as an investors for them. I think it's wrong on them.
There you go. Steve, UPS's loss is FedEx's gain. Amazon and FedEx announced sort of a partnership, sort of silently, that they're gonna do it. FedEx will handle select large package deliveries for Amazon under a new multi-year agreement. Deal was signed in February 2025 and offers Amazon cost advantages over UPS. It's the first time they've worked together since 2019. You think this is good for Amazon, good for FedEx, good for both of them? What do you think?
100%. Look, Amazon and FedEx had a great partnership. I loved getting my packages quickly. But Amazon at one point said, well, we can do this a lot cheaper. Okay, FedEx says go do it. And they did, right? But it also affected a lot of packages not being delivered on time, and it slowed down Amazon's thoughts process. FedEx's original CEO was like, hey, I know how to do this faster and better, wrote a paper in Harvard, was thrown out of Harvard because of it. And guess what? Did it. And it has more money than Harvard's worth. So, look, when you look at it from that perspective, yes, UPS is handling, I call it the last mile, right? How do you get it here? So Amazon went out and got Rivian trucks. I thought that was a brilliant idea. Saved money on gasoline, oil, all the things that Rivian does well. And I see a Rivian van in my neighborhood literally every single day, 4 times, 5 times a day, right? But what's happening is FedEx has a much bigger picture. Yes, Amazon has its own planes. Yes, Amazon has taken that last mile to a different level. And they've created a new warehouse with robots in it. But what they haven't done is replace the people side of this. And FedEx still does this very, very well. And I think this is a great partnership for FedEx. I don't think Amazon should just be one. I think they should also be doing UPS as well. Backup upon backup upon backup. If FedEx has computers go down or whatever happens, Amazon, whatever happens, there's always a backup, and there's DHL, there's other companies. So don't just put it all in one. But I do like this new multi-year deal. Takes the pressure and the pain points off of Amazon for a while. So I do like this deal a lot. As you know, I've called for FedEx to go higher many, many times. I like FedEx, and I think they have a great brand. So yes, I love this multi-year deal.
Awesome. Yep. Good move there from them. On the other side here, we have a huge insider sale moving one of the biggest losers on the day, ODD, down about, it's moved even further down since this. It is now down about 12.3%. CEO selling 5.5 million shares in a block trade. CEO still owns 23%. This is one where it's a weird one for me, so I'd have to ask if you'd be interested maybe in them here, because this stock's taken off. There's a pretty good reason why, they're taking some profits. This stock just on April 7th of this year was trading at $35. Today, yesterday it surpassed 73.
Tell me why the CEO sold. Was it for tax reasons? Was he buying a new house? Was he building? What's he doing with the money? I can answer this question. You've had a nice run. Profit taking is probably a good thing. Take some off. He's been CEO and he's been there a long time, since the beginning, right? So I don't blame a CEO and a founder and an owner taking profit. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I don't think this is that big of a deal, considering, like I say, he still owns 23% of the company. He has entered into a 1-year lockup that he's not going to sell anymore. So, this was a sale where he's saying, hey, I'm not going to continue to sell. This is going to take care of me for a while, at least for a year. And keep in mind that they're up 50% since their April 29th when they raised their full year guidance. So again, you know, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Is it one that you'd consider maybe taking a look at then, you know, on
No,
this kind of dip like that? No? Okay.
no, it probably needs to slip a little bit more. It's had a nice run, but it also means that the CEO might be thinking that this is the top, so take some profit at the top. That's why you're seeing it more now than 7% down. So yeah. Real quickly, Xi Jinping now from China says that there are no winners in a tariff war, a trade war. I think a deal is coming very quickly. China really seeing this problem, so I just saw that come across the wires here. I totally understand here, and I don't like this. I like both now coming to the table here. 620 people watching now the show. Hit that like button, smash it, baby. Let's go. Let's get it back over. I love this. Yesterday we hit an all-time high on the number of people watching. Let's do it again. If you don't mind, hit that retweet button out there. Get that thing going, and appreciate that. All the love out there today. Yeah, we're getting.
Awesome. Tick is up still. We're still moving a little bit to the upside here. Markets look pretty good. I don't have much else here right now.
Oh my goodness gracious. Here you go. Hearing a headline here, Norway's sovereign wealth fund, that's the largest wealth fund in the world, says that they will no longer, get this, no longer hire humans. Wow. For now. No more humans, no more human hiring. They're going to hire AI. They're going to hire computers. We've said this all along. This is where we're going. And this is the largest sovereign wealth fund in the world. I will be interested. I want to talk to Marco Litt about this in a week or two, his thoughts on this. But this is big. Is it all algos? Is it all going to be just, no more need for no more need for humans anymore, right? So this is a big question mark.
Wow.
103,772 there on Bitcoin. I think we need to get back above that 105 handle here. That wall is being built up again, right, Howard?
Seems a little bit. We haven't really challenged it too hard, so we'll see. It's
okay.
It's pretty good for me. It's looking like it's in a good spot. Yeah, it held yesterday where it needed to move back up. So far, so good. We're in a sort of a spot where it could go either way. If we see a downfall, it will be pretty significant to the downside. Money is going to eventually come out of Bitcoin and go into the stock market. It hasn't really yet. That's what I keep looking for.
You asked about UNH earlier, and I just saw a post about it from Brian Sullivan from CNBC saying, look, in the last 6 months, UNH is down 40%. Yep. This is a Dow 30 stock. This is supposedly one of the stalwarts of the world. Think about that for a second. One of the biggest companies in the Dow 30, if this company was replaced by another company, maybe more beneficial and more closely to the United States and tied to a multinational, the Dow would be a way higher than it is right now. Some of these companies that are hitting the Dow that's just pulled it back, think about that for a second. I also want to point out that NVIDIA is back to 125 here. It's a 20% move for those of us who got in at 105 now to 125. So I'm not taking my profit here. I think it still goes higher. I'm liking this, right? Those companies should be in the Dow 30, right? The companies that are moving the tech side of this world, that are actually moving the needle, I think that those are the ones that really should be part of the bigger picture items. And I like that too as well.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know how that works, the rebalancing there when they make those decisions or how.
It's a little bit of a pop there in crypto here. Get back to 104, baby.
Dixie back above 101. So Mr. Flanagan, King Dollar has sort of come back, nicely bounced all the way up to that 50-day MA here before rejecting down a little bit there from there, but a nice little move to the upside there. Qs have sort of seen a blow off here, back down a little bit from the highs here this morning. We did get as high as 510.50. We're now trading right about that 508.93. And basically, we're back to about where we were before we got a pop on that CPI data. So it looks like that sort of got digested and not a heck of a lot going on from that spot.
Reading right now that Governor Newsom of California is now aggressively planning to clear homeless encampments across California. I wonder how that's going to affect some of these places.
Look at the Mag
no
7 as we get ready to go into open here in about a minute. Apple and Microsoft on the downside. The others are moving to the upside. Everything was in the green outside of Netflix. Got hit for about 2.5% yesterday. All the rest were up nicely with, Meta up almost 8%, Amazon up 8%, Apple up 6%, Tesla and Nvidia up 6% also basically. So nice strong day out of the Mag 7 today. We'll see if we get any continuation on that as the cash market opens here in about 30 seconds. Tick is positive, advanced decline sitting at about 1550. And that's where we tend to be right here. So we'll see what we get here in about 1 minute.
All right, here we go. I think Nvidia gets back to 150.
And
all right,
we are open here. Tick is fairly flat.
Yeah.
Slightly negative, not much going on there.
Jim
A
Cramer
little bit of selling on the Qs. SPY seeing a move to the upside. Dow opens up minus 40 basis points, but as Steve mentioned, one of the biggest components there being UNH, and it's going to be the other healthcare that are in that sector also, or in the Dow also. Pretty muted open so far.
Yeah, I feel like the algos are kind of
sliding down slightly here. A little bit of a move to the downside so far. VIX though nicely 1776.
Zelensky now of Ukraine expects a possible ceasefire agreement as #1 result of Istanbul talks now. Wow.
Yeah, everything's still sliding. SPY's gone negative here. So algo's are they trying to trick the bears here into trying to get a little bit more profit, or are they actually going to take us to the downside? Let's see what we get here.
I would not be short. There's too many good news pieces coming out with all the bad in the world. We talked about this for a while, right? All the bad news. I don't think I'd be short in anything right here. I mean, it just seems to be, yeah, I get it. But the Fed is, the pressure on the Fed now is extremely high to cut.
So with that being said, Steve, we know Nvidia is one that you've said you would buy. So far in the last 3 weeks, there really hasn't been one stock other than that. So is there anything? What would you be buying? What would you be holding? I mean, you're saying that, but you're not doing that.
That's correct. Well, no, I'm long the Qs. I mean, I've been long the Qs for a while, but that's about it.
Well, you haven't mentioned that, so there you go.
I'm sorry. Yes, I have been long.
So there you go. There you go. So there it is. The Qs.
Coinbase.
I'm like, man, someone that said that for 3 weeks, it's only been Nvidia. That's not like you to not at least have.
Yeah, no, yeah. Usually I'm a big trader, right? But look. There's not been a lot of stocks going up 20% over the last few weeks, right? Nvidia's been that one, and I've been so on it that I think Nvidia is the key. Right, because it is the company that's doing the quantum computing, that is doing the AI, that is building the chipsets, that is, petroleum is affected by it. That's what I'm saying. I like this move, and that's why I like Nvidia. And I don't see a lot of other companies out there on Nvidia that has been beaten up, mispricing and pricing, right? And here we are, 125.50 now 2.5% or $2.50 now. So I like this one. This is what I liked, and this is why I've said it. I've been talking about it for a while. Coinbase now up as much as 13%. Look at this; it's still going up. 104 now.
As you know, the ETFs are causing a lot of this, right? Because they have to purchase in to the new.
They do. Well, right now the institutions are buying, but the rebalancing will happen at the end of the week. So we'll see when the actual rebalancing happens. But yeah, agreed. Zelensky says that Trump has been invited to attend, but has yet to confirm his attendance. Nvidia is still pushing higher here. I will say that I am thinking very serious about other sections. I mean, this Apple neural network is really interesting to me too, as well, right? I think that's very, very interesting. Let's see what they do when it comes to getting those patented, right? Are they going to create something like Elon Musk, the neural network, or are they actually doing something that's a little bit different? Now, there's one you've been talking about Netflix. I've been saying anything under 1,000 has been a buy. Netflix, chill. I just watched a Netflix show yesterday. One that I didn't think that I would watch was Heart Eyes. It's the horror flick, the murder slasher comedy. Actually, it's a rom-com. It's got every piece to it. It's not for kids, obviously, because of the slasher side of it, but it's funny as heck. And it's definitely one of those that's going to do very well for Netflix. So I do like Netflix here too as well. And I have been talking about Netflix for a while now too as well. And you know that I've also talked about Royal Caribbean as well on Schwab as well. So all of these have been things I've talked about, but yeah, as a trader, NVIDIA has been the big winner for us.
Do you see Webull selling off here? They were up nicely in the pre-market. They got hit pretty hard yesterday again. That's one of those newer listings there. So interesting to see what goes on there. A lot of the crypto names up nicely today. MicroStrategy up 1.5%. And then we see the crypto mining companies all up nicely. Tempest AI up 11.63% today. I couldn't find any real reasoning on that. I was looking this morning because they were they were up so much compared to the other AI companies that were sort of getting hit with Rigetti. But Tempest AI holding up really nicely, up about 12% here. Steve, Boeing back over 200 here, 202.47. There's one, you talk about a nice recovery, up 30% over the last 30 days. So what a move up by Boeing, really helping there. And that's been helping the Dow, right?
Yep.
And again, Riot, one of the crypto miners, up about 3.3% today. So we are continuing to see a move to the upside by Coinbase, by FSLR. MTSR has turned around a little bit. They talked about some GLP news too, Steve. Where were they? Metsera. It's funny because I always think that someone's buying that stock because they think it's MicroStrategy, but it is a very important healthcare drug things there. Metsera said they have $588 million on hand cash. That gives them a runway all the way into 2027. As we know, they went public recently. That raised $316 million for them. They did have a net loss of about $76 million. But they talked about that their MET0997I injectable GLP is showing to be doing well. It's showing about a 14.2% weight loss after a potential monthly dose. And they're looking to move forward there. They have a bunch of other drugs that are above my head that they're talked about in here. But their big talk, as you just talked about, obesity and metabolic drug space remains a hot sector with major investor interest. Nice move to the upside there by them earlier, but they're getting hit.
I'm a little concerned. I mean, if Trump is going after these companies, right, with weight loss, and what happens when they don't put R&D money into building these new drugs because it's too expensive and they don't want to build these things out. There's a give and take here. Yes. Wow. President Trump's administration says it will terminate another $450 million in grants to Harvard University. Okay. At some point, we don't want to be a dumb country here. We want to make sure that money is going the right direction here. Ouch.
Yeah. I mean, it actually is interesting. I won't tell you who she works for, but my wife, as you know, works for one of those big foundations that is set up by some of the richest people that were in power at one point. And they're in DC right now because they're meeting about the president's crackdown on those foundations because that's who's replaced that money. Harvard had announced pretty quickly that they had Gates Foundation and the Koch brothers and Soros and all those guys had all come to the rescue, so to speak, and they were replacing that money. So now there's talk of threatening the nonprofit status of these large foundations. One of the reasons, I don't know if you saw, the Gates Foundation announced they're gonna do 99% of their money in the next 20 years. He says he doesn't need a legacy that lasts forever. He needs to make a change today. And that's what he needs to do to make that happen.
Right. I mean, you're seeing it now. The Norway Sovereign Wealth Fund telling you we don't need humans anymore. Spend that money on people now. We're the ones that made him rich, right? Everything I've got, Microsoft and Apple in my house, in my offices, right? We've made them rich by their products. Great. And give back to people. I agree with this. But he needs to do it in a way that's not him setting tone of where his money goes to, right? Oh, you need to do it this way, and you need to. I'm not going to give you my money.
I don't think he does. I think that he's pretty hands off with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not involved in his foundation.
It's one thing to give money the way it is now, but in the future, if he's giving away 99% of it, look. I get it with he's now completely under the spell of Mr. Warren Buffett now of good. I'm giving back, right? The giving tree and all of those things.
Altruistic, yes.
Yeah, and signing the pledges.
It didn't work very well for Sam Bankman-Fried, but
he gave his money away.
First, you should have the money, and it should be your money before you give it away. Please don't give away any more of mine. Another one that I did want to mention, Steve, where the CEOs definitely got some faith in them. Sunrun, insider purchase, CEO purchased, and I had a laugh because the headline that was kicked out for me was he doubled down and he bought 50,000 shares at 10.87, adding to the 150K that he bought at $6.80. So it's going up, and they're still buying. So that should be one that's interesting.
I agree with you, and I'll tell you why. Because I think President Trump is right in this. Because alternative industry of energy is coming back. He is doubling down and tripling down and quadrupling down on nuclear energy. We're seeing a lot of that. And solar. I agree with this, right? Now, the question mark is, where do we get the solar panels from, right? If it's U.S. manufacturing of solar panels, okay, great. But we still need those rare earths in order to make it happen, right? So, yeah, there's a little bit of give and take here, but I love this, man. Look at NVIDIA on the highs of the day here, Q's on the highs of the day. Come on, Bitcoin, get back up there. Everybody's going to be happy.
It's going to be an interesting one because I'll tell you, there's a lot of battles out here where I live where these solar farms also want to come in and buy large swaths of land, and farmers and the folks out here do not want that to happen. They're worried about what it's going to do to, shifting winds and
other
things. So it will be interesting, and plus the birds and all the other parts of it. So it'll be interesting to see. I personally think that everybody that has a parking garage should have that on it. And if you have an outdoor parking garage, you should cover it with those. And believe it or not, one of the cheapest men in America, Mr. Lerner from DC there, the former owner of our Nationals that ran him into the ground before he sold them off. He famously did that, blocking the view from a bar that I used to work at.
And make it,
but I do applaud it. I do think that is how solar energy, seamlessly can be built into society, right? There's a lot of buildings. There's a lot of things that you can put it on top of. Man, we are running up here, Steve, nicely. Q's now up almost 60 basis points here. SPY back up 24. Dow Jones is going to be down because of UNH, no way around it, and what it's done to the healthcare sector. Here this morning, you mentioned Bitcoin did get rejected again at that 104 level. That seems to be the spot. It's not even really breaking the 104 here. WTI at 62.225 here. Trying to take a look and see what else is moving.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a lot of the people feeling a little bit better about putting money into work. Too much cash in the sidelines right now. That cash in the sidelines has to go somewhere. And they're not going to put it into the U.S. bond market, right? The bond market's a mess. We know that. And look, you're just not going to get the rates. Now, if someone pays me 4.45% every year, and that's not the case, right? If the rates were to go to 10%, put it in 10% and never touch it again. You may not beat the market every year, but you're not going to be, 10% every year. Every 10 years, there you go.
I missed one here. Lunar, LUNR, up 30% here on their earnings. I noticed it because ATST was one that was one of the biggest losers or laggards here this morning. ASTS had been down almost double digits earlier this morning, and I saw that it popped and it's up 5%. So wondering what was going on there quickly.
Another
here.
thought that I like, right? I think that intuitive machines lay them on. Look, we hear all the time they're going to put a moon base together, right? They're working on putting something together that creates a stopping point so that we can go to Mars. Okay, well, Lunar does that, right? I like that. So,
and again, after being down almost 48% this year, so nice move up here. So we're back in space, baby, back in space. That's the only one of the laggards that's really turned around significantly here this morning. Although a smaller one, HSAI, which is one of those Chinese names that had been down. Will mention, I said it yesterday, right? I didn't trust all those Chinese names that jumped. WeRide's down almost a percentage point. Lee down 2.1 here. Futu down 2.28. Billy down 3.13 here. KC down 7.11. GDS down 5.65. So again, anytime if you're in those Chinese names and when they do those big pumps, take that profit because there tends to be a turnaround on them pretty quickly here. Coinbase up 15% now, Steve. Nice move to the upside here.
If you were short, you're not short anymore. And if you're an institution, you've got to rebalance. Joining the S&P 500 doesn't just mean the S&P 500 is rebalancing. All of those ETFs that buy that will also be buying too.
All of those leveraged 1 ups, 2 ups, 3 ups, 3 down, sideways, whatever it might be, covered. However they use the S&P in their funds. Yeah, Mr. Tuttle and those guys are in the middle.
And I'll also say this much: it also gives Coinbase that feeling to a lot of people. Where do
right? A lot of people won't invest. I can give you a perfect example. It puts it on Dr. Alan Ellman's radar. He's an S&P 500 for his covered call things. That's where he only really works.
And if you're like, well, how do I buy crypto? I don't know how to do it. Guess what? Well, this is a company in the S&P, right? That if they believe in it, then why I should too, right?
And I guess, Steve, this becomes part of the problem, though, right? Because we want that decoupling from the markets, and when you integrate the crypto companies in, it provides a little bit where that's not going to happen. Maybe there's
no sector in the world that's not in the markets. So
right.
This just has to happen. In order for crypto or anything to be. Do you know that gold was not in the stock market for many years, right? It did, but when gold became part of the trading abilities, futures especially, right? Then that added leverage to gold. Gold's been around for 4,000 years. I get all of that, but it wasn't until that people could actually afford to buy it. You didn't just go down to your local grocery store, or in this case, Costco, and buy gold. Today you can do that, right? So it's also been a situation where you've had to be able to go get it. A little bit of a selling there in Bitcoin there.
Like I said, 104 keeps hitting it and then gets knocked down pretty hard. That's why I'm not overly bullish here. I don't think we're ready for a move up here. I'm not bearish yet, but I'm not necessarily bullish on it that we're ready to take that next level up here.
Yeah, I don't know. Another state and another pension fund now can buy crypto and Bitcoin, right? It just seems that there's only one.
I know. Yeah. I mean, again, I'm not negative on the long-term prospects. I'm just reading the chart. The top of this daily linear regression, it's stuck right at it. It's having trouble, and it's a sideward-facing linear regression. So I'm right now thinking that we see a little bit of retracement. The other thing is as all of our guys from the CMT always teach, when you see a big God candle like that, what does it do? It becomes a liquidity vacuum, right? So as you start to enter it, you tend to go to the bottom of it. So there's just things on, from a technical side for Bitcoin that are there. Now, again, and Michael Saylor tweet, although his tweets don't really move the market anymore, but a president, if the president says something or somebody else or something, you're right, that could be the impotence to break that. But until it does, I'm gonna listen to the linear regression right now.
Right, I agree, 100%.
So that's all.
Look at
that, man. Ethereum just continues to be good. What?
We got about 10 more minutes. Let's get the thing back. Look at that thing. We got more people watching. I appreciate that. Listen, we have a lot of love for everybody out there. Thank you so much for tuning in, and tell your friends, tweet that thing out there, get it out there, put it on LinkedIn. Let's get these numbers up again. I like this. Look at that. NVIDIA on the highs of the day now. again.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Up almost 3%. Hey, Steve, I got to ask you. I want to go backwards a little bit. We were getting ready for the open for this.
yeah.
Bill Ackman owes 20% of Hertz, and you said something, that you have faith in him, but he's made one of the biggest, blunders out there at one time, right? Wasn't Herbalife a huge one? I mean, this isn't the one time that he's been on the wrong side. I mean, we've even seen Warren Buffett take a big loss in Alta.
You took it out of my mouth. I was about to say, do you know River Sherson Lehman? Do you know Lehman Brothers? Look, we all make mistakes. We're human.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I just want to ask because I also, I get nervous because I do see some people that are jumping into HHH because of X, or they're jumping into this. I point out some of these great hedge funds. You look at them. I mean, that's to me that I remember when I first started trading, when you were teaching me, back now 10 years ago, and there was BlackRock. I'm like, well, why wouldn't I just buy BlackRock stock? I mean, they're the best
BlackRock
money managers in the world.
BlackRock does one thing, prints money. So I never go.
But when you say that it hasn't necessarily outpaced, because there's a lot of things that go into it. They have costs. They have things that I mean, it isn't as simple as saying, hey, they're really good at managing money, so they're going to just always go up. KKR, right? They were the darlings of the 90s and 2000, the Raiders. If you look at a KK, I'll pull up KKR's chart. I mean, and again, I'm not telling you what to buy or sell here. I'm just sort of pointing out that, it's funny how the markets, when you think of things, but I do often see, again, this is KKR. It hasn't been a very successful chart here for a while. Making a nice move back, but stock pickers tend to have a better success rate than just broad-based ETFs and buyers, right?
Well, Bill Ackman also started a bunch of SPACs as well, special acquisition companies.
Yeah.
Most of them didn't make it either,
Where
right?
He made a lot of money, but not necessarily those that invested in them.
Correct. But we make mistakes. We're human, right? And I think, you just saw it today, Norway taking the human.
I've noticed that CNBC has been very much, and other sources have mainstream media has basically been pushing that Bill Ackman is Hertz and you should buy because he is. And you know what? It's you buy what you think is.
No one should buy anything based on what anybody says.
It's not what BigBeat says. It's not what Hondo says.
Any of us, right?
We give you ideas. We tell you.
That's right. You make your own decision.
That was more what I was putting, because I've noticed it. Yeah. The biggest effect is obviously the Buffett effect, right? As soon as we find out that he's put money into something, it usually, even Ulta went straight up the first couple of days, and then they had a news report and it went straight the other way and couldn't be stopped.
Look, I make mistakes like anybody, right?
I'm pointing out is, make your own trading decisions. Those are the ones that you're going to have the most success with, because they're yours. You're going to have the conviction behind it, because it is a wavy market, right? BigBeat had to have diamond hands on NVIDIA. It would have been very easy, because if you remember, he had his first buy was well above 105, and then he waited and he let it go down below that, and then made his next purchase, and was willing to sit because of his conviction, like you've heard him talk about on the show today. I've had that conviction with Bitcoin sometimes where Steve has it, right? And that's right. It's just a different where we feel comfortable in our trades. You need to feel comfortable in your trade. It's one of the bigger things I try to tell people as they ask me, well, what do you do? Well, this is what I'm thinking, or this is how I react, but because I do it, it might not work for you.
But I have found, Howard, that over time that people just want to be told what to buy and sell and not do their homework, right? That bothers me. And whenever someone asks me those questions, tell me why you bought it. If you can't answer that question in 5 seconds and you can't tell me where your exit is, you shouldn't be in the position, right?
Yeah, I hear that all the time. I'm a big thesis trader in general on mine, and I use fundamentals a lot, even in the crypto world of tech.
127 now on NVIDIA for those of us who are playing the game. Look,
absolutely. Loving it. Yeah.
And and I think you said yesterday you sold, right? You sold pre-market yesterday. Is that right?
I sold some of my MVDX. I still have some of it, and then I did not sell my
the ultra fund for NVIDIA. Very cool.
Yeah, of course. But I actually, it worked out for me, because I sold it and bought back into MSTR, and it's dropped yesterday on MSTU, which was up, and I already sold that this morning pre-market. I've been doing most of my stuff pre-market. I'm not going to lie. I've been buying at the end of the day on dips, and then when some of these things have moved up, I've been selling them pre-market. So yeah, I think it was up. I went up on that position, made me, and right before close, like I said yesterday, I got into MSTR, and then before the market opened this morning, I was up 6% on that position. So I said, see you later.
Man, we're making even newer highs on Nvidia's. Qs are still pushing higher here.
Yeah, everything's moving up nicely. Gotta like that. Google getting hit, although we're seeing Google, Microsoft, and Apple, the three biggest, sort of three.
But I think NASDAQ 100 has now erased all of 2025's declines. There it is.
What was that?
The NASDAQ 100 is now positive for the year.
Yep. SPY also.
Yep. There it is. Yep. And 3 weeks
remember,
ago.
but the funnier part to me is basically we're exactly where we were January 1st. What a boring year.
If you were a historian and you were looking back 30 years from now and looking at this year, you'd be like, wow, like there was nothing going on that year. And living through it, right? I remember 2008. I remember 1987. Yeah, I'm that old. But going through them is not easy, right? And look, it's one of my sayings that I always say: a good captain is not made in calm seas, right? This is why, I was on a show where everybody's crying about the economy and the markets, and me too. Like I was crying about it too. I didn't like the things that were going on. But look, you have to have understanding of how the market works. And we talk it through here, right? That's what Quasar Markets does. We walk you through it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the economy. Let's talk about how these things are affecting. Does it work? Did things change? Are we not using AI? Of course we're using AI. I don't even think I've used Google in like now. And now it's 6 months now. I don't even think I've used it, right? Maybe for a mapping. I don't know. Maybe a little bit of mapping, I guess. Maybe for a review of a restaurant, maybe, but not for my critical thinking. I'm actually using I have 18 AIs that I use now, but I look at it from that perspective and say, okay, well, what if things have changed? And if it's so bad and the world is still okay, meaning that the Warren Buffetts are all of the market, okay, capitulation has happened, everybody's crying, okay, I want to be the ticker taker. When the world is people running to the exit of the doors, I want to take that stock from them and say thank you, because you know what? The market only goes one direction. It only goes one direction. Yes, you're going to say, oh, it goes in both directions. It does. But over time, it only goes in one direction, up, because inflation, the things that we talk about. And it
doesn't necessarily go up versus inflation. Money. Hey, do you see Coinbase's new ad?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, it's phenomenal. It just shows money being printed and like how they show how much money has been printed. They showed you like visually how much money has been printed since 2020 and said, what hasn't? Bitcoin.
Right. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Great ad.
Flying here. Gold's flipping now.
It's still up about 200. Here advanced decline hasn't really done much though, Steve. Only at 1597. So there's definitely, we're seeing the sectors, and we're seeing that when we look across the spider. XLU utilities are down today. I saw CEG was down, a bunch of them. XLB, which is the material sector, is down. Consumer staples are down. We know healthcare is down, and then real estate's down. So we do see just as many sectors today down as we do up. That makes me feel a little bit better about the market, right? It's showing a little bit of breathing room both sides.
Yeah. I'm looking over here, and I'm also seeing cocoa prices as well, really flying again. Look at this. Nvidia about to knocking on the door of 128 here.
Yeah. Nicely moved to the upside again, 3.85%.
Getting absolutely crushed right now.
Absolutely. And Bitcoin moving back up to 103.8 here, so it looks like it wants to make another try. Ten-year is flat. That's the one thing that's flat today, Steve. 4.47, exactly where we left yesterday. So no moves there. Gold dropping a little bit, but not really giving way yet. Like I said, ETH's moving up, Solana's up. We do see Doge. Some of the cryptos are down, so money's coming out of some of those maybe here. into the market again. I want to see. I don't want to see that shift, but I'm looking for that shift because we usually see it when the markets start to move like this. We'll start to get some. We'll see FOMO into the Qs and into the Mag 7 from crypto, but we haven't really seen it so far.
Tick slipping a bit here. We might be getting top of the toppy as we approach the 10 o'clock hour here.
Yep. Trying to see. Not really. So AFTS has now gone back negative. Wow, talk about a one moving a day. I mean, this sucker, like I said, it was down at 25.80, made a jump all the way up to 29, now back down to 27. That one's just moving back and forth. And again, healthcare really the one getting beat up here. CVS down 4.64, Humana down 6.47. So we see a couple of themes this morning. In general, the AI sector, Rigetti, Pony AI, GDS, KC, some of those names down. We also see healthcare tremendously. UNH down 13.77, Elevance down 6.7. Enphase getting hit pretty hard, Steve. So while the other solar are picking up, Enphase is actually down about 5.67% here today. They are one that we know do get their solar panels overseas, so that must be the reasoning there. And again, then the other real takeaway I have is that Chinese names getting beat up a little bit here today also. So those are sort of my sector looks. What are you looking for the rest of the day here, Steve?
I'm right. I just looked over the screen. Disney at 111 here, 111.57 here. Look at that. I mean, these are names that I did mention. We're hearing reports now that Trump has announced a $600 billion Saudi investment commitment here. So. Also, China's finance ministry now said that they are going to adjust their tariff rates on U.S. goods on May 14th. So it looks like that a little bit of thawing here in this China-U.S. relationship when it comes to these tariffs.
Like you said, President Trump officially signed strategic economic partnership with Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, this is big.
Yeah, everything playing out well here. Everything, that you want to see that should give us the blast off is set to do so. So
finance ministry now they will reduce their tariffs from 34% down to 10%. That is huge. That could be very positive for the markets here. Because right now that would be lower than the tariffs from China right now. If that's the case, then this could be a very bullish moment for the United States and a big win for the president of the United States.
Yeah, if that definitely is what we're seeing. Yeah, it says it's coming out of China.
That's tomorrow, right? Man, they could really, the port of Los Angeles better get ready. They better stop playing basketball and get ready for a lot of shipments coming in then.
Yeah, that definitely would. And like you said, brokerages scale back recession odds after U.S.-China trade truce. So we're seeing it move.
Now the question is, does Apple and these companies, Xbox, Microsoft, do they lower their prices back again because of this? They better. Or that'll add to the inflation.
The only negative I do see that's coming out of China right now is they say fentanyl issue is responsibility of the United States.
They're right. That's not our responsibility.
Yeah, let's hope that rhetoric doesn't pick up. Let's just let things be good for the next.
Look, that responsibility is on us as a country to educate our people. Oh wait, we're cut the Department of Education. Oh wait, okay. We need to educate. Now listen, don't say no to drugs like Nancy Reagan back in the 80s. It doesn't work.
Yeah, this is your mind on drugs. China finance minister to cancel additional tariffs imposed on the U.S. products under 2 later rounds of measures. So again, continuing to see positive news come in, and it is moving the markets up the way you would expect it from there. So nice move to the upside here. Tick is still negative, but advanced decline started to pick up. Qs are now at 512.39. So, they're at the highs of the day, basically. We are seeing the Qs at the highs of the day. and NVIDIA at 127.60. So it's got to break, hasn't broken above 128 here, Steve, but I do think you hit that 128 mark, and it's got a nice little, again, it's got this nice little spot all the way up to about 135. You can see pretty quickly.
I'm going to 150.
Yeah, nice move up overall. Well, Quasar market.
China's finance ministry now goes on to say about they're going to pause a 24% tariff rate on U.S. goods for another 90 days. So, wow, this thing is really getting crazy here. I like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you got to give Steve Flanagan some big props for it. He's the one that called for this. This is going to happen in the middle of May. He did not say June or July, and here it is, middle of May, and boom, he's right.
Yeah, absolutely. He nailed it.
$50.53 now in VXX, still near the lows of the day there. Yeah, NVIDIA's had, if I had, taken my profits on the 105 profits at 115 or 116 or 117 or 120 or 125 or 128, I think we continue to go higher. I think that NVIDIA continues to they have the chipsets that everybody wants. They have things that everybody needs. You can't run quantum computing. You can't run AI. You can't run most of your machines without these massive NVIDIA machines. So, yeah, you're 103.8 again. This big selling right there, to 400-point move on Bitcoin for no reason. It's just I think the algos are involved a little bit, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, there's just too many 100x leverage positions right now and stuff. So
yeah,
definitely the volatility. Not ready. Like I said, we're not ready to make that move up yet.
All right, it's 10 o'clock. Howard, let's take us home.
Okay, well, everybody, thank you for joining us. I personally think we're going to continue to see this good news throughout the day, it looks like, and we continue to keep moving to the upside. I'd also point out, like I said, on NVIDIA, on the Qs, on a lot of these, we broke through those key resistance areas, and now we're in a spot where there's room to the upside. I mean, you've got room to 518 here on the Qs. As I said, 135 or so on the on NVIDIA. So, hey, today could be a fun day, everybody, but keep yourself keep your trailing stops on, and have a great trading day.